Thank you so much for attending tonight's budget hearing. I'm Councilwoman Deborah Stark. I represent District 3. I'm going to turn it over to Jim Wary in a moment. He represents District 2. Our districts actually share a very large common border, so we thought it would be great to have a joint meeting. We appreciate everyone coming here tonight. Ed's going to kind of talk about the format tonight. We're here to listen, to learn, and hear any kind of important comments you have to share. I mentioned last night at my other budget hearing in the Valley area, actually during our process last year, people made comments that really we valued, and we ended up amending the budget that was first proposed by Edwin, and we actually amended it and changed it because of the comments that we hear from all of you. So we do value what you have to say tonight. I'll turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. I'm Jim Waring. The Ed, she has cryptically referred to as Ed Zerker, the city manager, who's walking behind me. As you look around the audience, you see a lot of police officers and firefighters, and the library is represented, and sanitation is represented, my office is represented. So we've got a lot of folks from different walks of life in the city to answer your questions what we're doing here. So I appreciate it. We have a nice turnout, and we're going to start with a presentation, and then we can answer questions. Deborah and I can answer questions, Ed can answer questions. But if you have questions, if you can fill out the cards that are up there. Somebody want to wave for a card? Show them. Fill out the cards, please. And if you could come up and speak in the microphone, we'll call you. We appreciate that. Ed, do you have any words?
I will also ask our Spanish language interpreter to just introduce herself. Anybody needs the service?
Buenas tardes, si alguien necesita servicios de traducción en español, le podemos dar un equipo.
Thank you. So we, as the council member said, we have some information, and then we will go to your comments. We actually this year have done it into two pieces. Based on some feedback last year, we have a general overview of the budget, which is more of an educational piece, which actually came out of comments from last year's hearings. We'll take just a quick 1 second break to queue up the next one, and then we'll look specifically at this year's budget. So we'll start with a 5-minute video that explains our overall budget process, and then we'll have about a 7-minute video that goes through our trial budget. So welcome, and we'll cue the video.
Let's talk about the City of Phoenix budget. But wait, don't go anywhere. We're gonna make this quick and interesting. Did you know that last year, 1.5 tons of broccoli were served at Phoenix senior centers? And city vehicles like these garbage trucks traveled 2.9 million miles. That's equal to 119 times around the earth. Can't forget about our furry friends, the city's trained police and fire dogs. Their job is to sniff out the bad guys and find evidence. Last year, they ate 24,000 pounds of food to stay strong. So what does any of this have to do with the city budget? Everything. The Phoenix budget is around $4 billion and pays for lots of services that make your life better, safer, and more convenient. It's a huge effort made up of lots of smaller pieces, the programs and people that it takes to get the job done. So how those pieces fit together, the people, the buildings, the vehicles, and equipment, gets us to the total city budget. Explaining how it works isn't always easy. Managing every item in a budget with over 400 different services provided by over 14,000 employees is a year-round project, one we work on every day. And it's you, the residents of Phoenix, who we have to thank for giving us a budget to balance. The bottom line is that we get revenue, taxes and fees for our specific services and grants that we spend on the cost of services. That's city employees, buildings, equipment, contracts, and supplies. Here's how we get revenue to pay for important city services. For example, when you eat at a restaurant, shop at a store, fill up the tank, fly out of Sky Harbor, or pay your property taxes or your water and trash bill. That all helps to pay for things like fire and police, paving roads, new bike lanes, more library books, street lights, clean water, parks and trails, just to name a few. To provide these important services, we divide our work and track our costs through 36 city departments and functions like police, fire, parks, libraries, neighborhood services, water and aviation, and our support services like the city clerk, human resources, finance, budget, and information technology departments. Like clockwork, every spring, departments look at what it takes to provide the services for the year. Did employees leave, or did new staff join the team? Are there needed or unplanned building or equipment repairs? What will broccoli cost next year? Are there new projects that need to be considered? Okay, we talked about broccoli. Now let's talk about pie. Every department gets a slice, or at least a sliver of the pie. And most departments like police, fire, libraries, parks, neighborhood services, and human services are supported by the general fund. It's a pot of money that comes from these areas: general sales and property taxes, revenue distributed by the state from income, state sales, and vehicle taxes, and some fines and fees. The general fund is a little less than a third of the entire budget because it pays for services that everyone needs, like public safety, senior and youth programs, neighborhoods, and libraries. It's the part that gets the most of the public's attention. Now, check out this slice. It's a little more than a third, and it's called enterprise funds. Think business revenue. This slice is from those departments that only charge the people who use their services directly. For example, airlines and passengers at the airport, conventioneers, water and sewer users, and customers who pay for trash pickup and recycling. And the last slice is called special revenue funds. That's the last third of the budget. This is funding that comes from taxes dedicated for a special purpose. For example, Phoenix Parks and Preserves, Transportation 2050 for streets and transit, and the special dedicated sales taxes for police and fire hiring. Now, to get the budget to the next step, first we take a look at what we think it'll cost to provide our services next year, looking at salaries and benefits for the employees in each area. That's about 80% of our general fund budget, as well as other costs like replacing equipment and paying for gas, electricity, computers, and supplies. Then we estimate how much revenue we will take in through taxes, fees, and grants. By law, we have to make the revenue and expenses match. That's called a balanced budget. If there's not enough, we ask how to cut back. But if there's more revenue than expenses, we ask how it should be spent. It's the same process for general funds, enterprise funds, and special revenue funds. That asking is called the trial budget. It's a list of proposals from the city manager and staff based on what they have heard from the city council and the community. It's a trial budget because it's not final. It's a starting place to hear from you. The trial budget is discussed with the city council, and then we come to you. Every resident of Phoenix, yes, all 1.6 million of you, are invited to tell us what you think. You can attend a meeting and give your feedback there, or read the trial budget online and give feedback that way. Based on what you tell us, the budget is revised and presented to the City Council for a second round of discussion and feedback. And then the final budget is developed and presented for the City Council to formally adopt. That means when July 1st rolls around, broccoli can be served and trucks can roll through the city. Departments know how much funding they have. Remember the pie? But they have to live within their means and use only the slice they've been given. What happens next? A new year of work. The budget process for the following year starts, and we do it all again. Managing and balancing the budget is a big responsibility, and we are glad to have you be part of it every year.
So that's a bit of background. I do want to thank the council members for hosting the meeting. We now want to get into what's on the proposal for 2018-19. As the council member said, last year at this time we were concerned that we might be here with a significant deficit, but because we worked on it through the whole year, the council took some early actions. We actually have just a little tiny bit of revenues over expenses, and so we'll talk about in this next video It tracks with this longer document, which is the budget tablet, and that tracks with an even bigger document, which is online at phoenix.gov/budget, which has even more detail. So you can go through different layers of detail as you're interested in that. As we said, if you'd like to speak, please fill out a card. And we will now go to the video to discuss the 2018-19 trial.
And now, the City of Phoenix 2018-2019 trial budget. Last year, we projected a potential budget deficit for 2018-19, more expenses than revenue, as high as $60 million. Thanks to strong leadership from the mayor and city council, we took early action, and now we have a balanced budget. Here's what we did. Last September, the city council voted to reduce overhead expenses. The council also acted on a new state law that allowed us to spread our public safety pension payments over 25 years instead of 20 years. The city also held the line on spending, giving us a surplus fund balance to start the year. And a healthy economy kept revenues on target. All this led to a 5-year forecast with our budget in balance. Now the trial budget starts with basically the same pie as last year, continuing our core services. In the general fund and dedicated revenue funds, this includes hiring firefighters and police officers, providing funding for parks, streets, transit, libraries, senior centers, youth services, arts and culture, and neighborhood services. We also have funds to replace aging vehicles, especially police cars and fire equipment, repair buildings and facilities, and keep our computer systems up to date. And with some of the savings from last year, we funded a police and fire pension reserve fund to help pay any unexpected future changes in their pension costs. The trial budget includes $2.7 million in proposed enterprise and special revenue fund additions to keep pace with growth and workload demands, as well as $2.9 million in additional general funds to allocate for community services. The general fund provides support for basic services across the city, like police and fire staffing, park and library operations, and programs for youth and seniors. Let's walk through each area. First, the general fund. Public safety has the highest priority in our budget, with over 70% of our general fund going to police, fire, prosecutors, court system, and emergency management. In the trial budget, the proposal is speed up processing of the more than 77,000 police public records requests received each year by reallocating current resources. In addition, the police department will add resources for crime scene investigation. Adding 5 new positions will help officers locate and apprehend violent offenders possessing guns. The addition of 8 fire protection positions to support the city's building inspection program and ensure properties throughout the city comply with fire safety laws and standards. And we're budgeted to continue hiring police officers and firefighters. The trial budget includes a $6 million general fund set aside and related grant support to keep fire's filled staffing level at 1,654 positions for the next 3 years. Reducing the impacts of homelessness in Phoenix is a priority. With a nearly 60% increase in unsheltered homeless, the goal of the city is lead with services by connecting individuals experiencing homelessness with appropriate services while reducing the impact on Phoenix neighborhoods. The PHX Cares Community Action Response Engagement Services Initiative saw more than 1,000 calls for outreach and engagement in the first 3 months. As part of the new PHX Cares initiative, the proposed budget provides for additions across human services, neighborhood services, and parks and recreation, including the addition of 2 more contracted homeless outreach teams to increase the city's caseload capacity by 360 clients per year, and continuing to lead with services. Parks and Recreation will add 2 ranger positions to provide direct outreach to people needing services in the city's urban park system. This brings our total number of rangers to 79. adding 2 positions to coordinate client service referrals, improve response times, and ensure coordination of efforts by all city departments to address code violations that arise from encampments. Phoenix continues its investment in neighborhood livability in this year's proposed budget with these proposed additions. Add 5 enforcement staff in the Neighborhood Services Department for a new sober living home licensing program. The purpose of this program is to enhance the health, safety, and welfare of residents of structured sober living homes and the surrounding community by establishing standards and regulations for the homes and their operators. As part of program administration, the City Clerk Department also will add 2 licensing positions to process and oversee applications funded through licensing fees. Increasing shade and replacing trees citywide with $450,000 to plant 750 trees annually and provide water and maintenance for them to thrive. This is also part of the city's Tree and Shade Master Plan. Additionally, the Office of Arts and Culture is proposed to receive an additional $30,000 in funds to increase grant funding for Phoenix arts and culture organizations to pre-recession levels. There is also funding for a project manager tasked with developing a Latino cultural center in the city of Phoenix, and for our libraries, continuing to restore hours for the community. This proposal makes Sunday hours permanent at 4 libraries: Yucca, Century, Harmon, and Ocotillo. Lastly, the budget provides for funding to support outreach for the 2020 census to make sure all residents participate and get counted, and the staff needed to oversee the city's involvement with the census count. Now for the non-general fund piece of the pie. Remember, this funding comes from dedicated fees and charges to customers, like development fees from companies that must pay for construction-related services provided by the city. The Planning and Development Department would use this revenue to add 18 positions, handling everything from plan review and site inspections to mapping, long-term planning, and more frontline staff for customer service assistance. Additionally, the Street Transportation Department would use special revenue funds to add 30 positions at a cost of $859,000 to improve our streets and support the paving maintenance and traffic improvements, as well as traffic signal electricians, Transportation 2050 related bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure development and maintenance, and employees to oversee the city's pavement plan, street sweeping, and proper implementation of Americans with Disabilities Act required projects. Altogether, these pieces of the pie do more than describe the work our city departments will do in the coming year. They tell the story of Phoenix's continued growth to be the 5th largest city in the country, with a diverse and thriving economy and a community that's in demand as a great place to live, work, and play. Thanks for taking the time to learn about the 2018-19 City of Phoenix trial budget. And please don't forget, this year's budget hasn't been adopted just yet. Your input is important, and the City of Phoenix wants to hear from you on what the upcoming budget should look like. Make sure you pick up a budget pamphlet outlining all the proposals and options at any of the public meetings or online at phoenix.gov/budget. You can also send your comments or questions to budget.research@phoenix.gov, or to reach us by phone, call 602-262-4800. You can also comment on social media by using #PhoenixBudget. Thank you for participating in this important process.
All right, thank you. So we will move now to your comments on it. As mentioned, we'll ask that when you speak, you come up here and speak into the microphone. That's because this room is big, but also because it's being recorded for Phoenix TV on the YouTube channel and channel 11. There are also minutes being taken that will be distributed to all the council members. We actually have 3 budget hearings tonight, so there's council members at other hearings, so they'll be able to understand and learn what it is that you have shared tonight as well. So we'll ask people to keep it to about 3 minutes, and Councilwoman Stark will call call our folks. I do want to say, though, first, thank you to our city employees who are here. None of them are being paid extra to be here, and so thank you for your time and coming to listen to our residents speak too. With that, I'll turn it over to Councilman Stark.
Thank you, and so the first is Wes Harris. Mr. Harris.
I'm Wes Harris. I live in Moon Valley in District 2, or 3 rather, I'm sorry. And as usual, the budget that's being presented doesn't give us the whole picture. It doesn't give us the comparison with what the total is. For instance, we're adding, it looks like 47 new positions, growing the city by 47 people when we should be, based on your comments online, you said we were almost the deficit. Now we've got just a little bit more. Well, we got a little bit more if we don't have all these positions. That's my position. Years ago, we talked about zero base. Are we doing zero base? Yes, we are. Is it a full zero base or is it a modified zero base? Okay, a modified zero base that gives you a budget and then you just add to it. A real zero base is you start with a blank sheet of paper and you justify everything you're doing. I'd like to see us expand this, adding 5 employees, Crime Gun Intelligence Center. Now, these people are going to be inside a building all day long, or are they going to be on the street? It's a mix both, 3 on, 3 in, and 3 out, 2 on. There's only 5.
I believe that the folks are primarily in the lab because they're operating equipment, but I believe the assistant chief can answer that they are also responding to scenes at times. They're working closely with the detectives. Chief Collins can speak more to that.
The 5 positions we're asking for are civilian positions.
Come on, we've got to have you speak to the mic so that we can capture your voice on air.
My name is John Collins. I'm an assistant chief assigned to the investigations division. The question is reference our Crime Gun Intelligence Center, and we're asking for 5 positions that are civilian. And what they do is they help our sworn detectives that are assigned to that unit process ballistic evidence. That's very important that we're able to capture this evidence where we get a quick turnaround time, where we get it processed within 48 hours so we get a true picture, be able to connect links and leads, reference these shootings, the homicides, the robberies that go on throughout the city. So it actually is freeing up the detectives to work outside in the field, and it's keeping our analysts and our civilian staff on the inside to help us process that evidence. So we've been very successful so far. We're working off a $1 million grant with it. And for us to get the 5 positions, that's a very big deal. And there's going to be a lot of successes with the city with the crime suppression efforts, reference these civilian positions we're asking for.
Now in the neighborhood services, licensing, what are we licensing really? It says SSLH. That's destruction of sober regulation.
Yes,
Living home.
Councilman Stark can speak to that, but there's not licensing in neighborhood services. The licensing happens from city clerk staff and the neighborhood services staff do the inspection, but Councilman Stark has been instrumental in that issue in conjunction with a group of neighborhood leaders called Take Action Phoenix, TAP, who they can speak to that as well with their issues. But the licensing will happen with staff and the clerk, and the licensing staff are actually paid for by the licensing fees. The general fund money, it has to pay for the inspectors who go out and inspect complaints.
So these are senior living, assisted living stuff?
Sober living.
Sober living.
They're not regulated by the state. The state regulates every other group home but sober living. And they've been cropping up left and right, I mean literally left and right. Larissa lives in a neighborhood where there are 3. And there is no way to know when they pop up because there is no mechanism, no licensing. So a few years ago, the state government gave us the ability to license sober living homes. That's what we're going to do. The good news is that there's a bill now in the legislature that may handle it statewide. So, but right now, we don't have any mechanism, and they don't meet our zoning requirements because we don't know that they're popping up. So this will be an instrument for us to help. I think it'll protect the
These are
residents.
substance abuse centers,
Yes,
basically?
yes.
Okay, but doesn't federal law preempt any zoning?
No, it actually allows us to put in some fair standards that deal with distancing, just like we have for other group homes. They do have the protections of the American Disabilities Act and the Federal Fair Housing Act, but we do have some ability to do licensing now for other group homes through the state and to do distancing requirements and some other, I think we're looking at some parking standards. So there are some abilities. But you're right, we're very limited.
Going further, in human services are kicking in another 300,000 and another 86,000, the same pictures that we showed last year. My question is, what progress have we made, if any? Are you actually measuring the dollars we spend and against the results? And if you are, I think you should be putting that in the budget. See if we're just throwing money out the window or not. We have 79 park rangers, and we're adding 2 more. We have 77, we're adding 2. So, really, that's pretty significant. I'm always advocating smaller government. I belong to prosperity. I belong to Americans for Prosperity. Smaller government is their theme. I see Phoenix is growing their government. I mean, we did reduce it. We were at one time 15,000 employees. 17. Now we're down to 14. Now we're climbing back up again. Yeah. And every single one of those positions is absolutely necessary. My biggest concern, and you were a little bit ingenuous in your comments about the budget and abiding by state law and moving it to 25 years from 20 when we'd already, the unfunded liability for the public service of 3.4 billion, as I remember the number. Now, 4.4 billion, but we've increased the carrying cost of that by increasing it another 5 years on top of the 20 years that we already approved last year. Now, we were going to revisit that at the city council meeting. Did we revisit?
So the previously the amortization of the unfunded liability for police officers and firefighter pensions was 20 years. The state passed a law to allow us to go up to 30 years.
Correct.
The council adopted that provision in state law that said that they wanted us to go to 25 years. And so that's the policy of the city council, is to amortize that unfunded liability over 25 years rather than 20.
I was there, and I was talking about it, and it was stated at that meeting that this was before the break, and after the break they would revisit it. That's my question. Did they?
Yes, they did.
And they confirmed the file.
Yes.
Jim, that's correct. So we kicked it down the can down the road again. Now we're going to have 47.
I should say I wasn't supportive.
Well, I know you were. But we're adding 47 more positions, which is going to increase our unfunded liability. Now, on your budget,
Actually, not necessarily, because those positions are all civilian. They're all in the reformed tier of COPERS, and so that is a tier 3 COPERS employee doesn't add to the liability in the way that we have for the other employees.
okay. So we've grandfathered.
No,
So we've created a new pension.
no. Based on reform passed by the residents of Phoenix for COPERS in 2013 or 15, 2013, I think, that created another tier in COPERS for people hired after that date.
Right. Okay. You made a comment in your budget online about the water services, wastewater, and providing funds there. My understanding, the wastewater is only for those employees that are wastewater, nothing to do with general fund, is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's somewhat complicated.
It's an enterprise fund separate from the general fund.
Okay, that's, my final comment about pensions. As a taxpayer, I don't think that we have a place at the table. When we have these, they're not union negotiations, they're called, what are they called?
Negotiations.
No, you got another name. Advising consent.
Meet and confer, meet and discuss.
Yeah, okay. But we have people.
That are really negotiations.
Yeah, they are definitely negotiating. But we have on one side of the table, city management who are all on the pension plan. And on the other side, we have the union who are on a different pension plan. And now whenever we give more to the union, then automatically the guys on the other side of the table get an increase.
That's not true. The council has to approve each separate unit, and management is its own unit. And negotiations generally does not affect pension benefits. Those are set in the city charter or in state law by ESP or others.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Next speaker is David Gore.
Good evening. Well, that's okay. I can. We're going to just hold it. Just focus on it. We're adaptable. Good evening. Thank you, council persons, and for hosting this meeting. My name is David Gore. I'm a native of Phoenix. I'm a 23-year member of the Phoenix Fire Department, and I work at the station up here off of Tatum and Deer Valley. I believe that is Mr. Waring's district. I'm here to kind of give you some news about what's going on up there. Currently, there's a significant lack of stations, rescues, ladders, engines, and firefighters up there. We have about an 8 to 10 mile area that if the engine is out that is closest to that, they're going to have a 9 to 10 minute response time to get up there because of the travel. When I came on the fire department, I swore to protect the public, and that's the reason I'm here. What I'm letting you know is that currently, the way our system is set up, after 7 o'clock at night, there is one ladder and one rescue for the entire area north of the 101, all the way to Careford. That's a long ways. What I'm advocating is for the city council and the city manager to take a serious look at buying land and getting more fire stations up there so that we can continue serving the citizens in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brian Willingham. Yeah.
As stated, Brian Willingham, I also work for Phoenix Fire Department. I'm going to be considerate of everyone's time, but I do have some statistics and facts I'd like to talk to you about with regard to what Captain Gore had stated. I too have worked for Phoenix Fire Department now 18 years. I've been a firefighter for 26 years, captain on a fire department now for 13 years. It's when Dave talks about response times and what it means to you to have a 9-minute response, there's a couple things, there are several things that might affect that, some of which are natural occurrences in the community and some of which we can control. So some of those we might not be able to control. This is really important for you to understand as a community member, as a citizen of this city. In Councilman Waring's district, and I will provide all these stats for you too at a later time. As well as Ms. Starks, I'll provide you some statistics as well. I have recent statistics that were provided by our own organization, so some of our numbers that we provided recently changed a little bit. But let me give you an example of what a 9-minute response time means to you. There's an NFPA, a National Fire Protection Agency standard that is supposed to be provided for by municipal fire organizations. A 5-minute and 20-second response. What does that mean to you? You get 4 minutes to get to the call, and there's a 1 minute and 20-second, what they call it, turnout time. Meaning for us to get ready to get to the truck, to get our gear on, or get our gear on the truck and get ready to go. Push the button. So a total of 5 minutes and 20 seconds to respond to your house. For any of you who may be in the medical field or may have just randomly read in medical journals what time means to you, time is tissue. Time means every second, every minute that goes by where you do not have oxygen or some sort of medical assistance, that plays a factor into your survivability or your prognosis for your medical conditions, let alone what it does for a fire or other emergencies that we need to mitigate on a regular basis. So what that doesn't account for is the time it takes to process a call. So when you first call any person in this room, if you picked up the phone right now and you call 911, you go to what's called a primary PSAT. You go to the police department. They determine, does this go to the fire department or does this go to a precinct or wherever else it might go. Where if they have to push that call forward to another fire department per se, or sheriff's department, or anywhere else, that's another step in the process. Okay, so there are seconds and minutes in most cases that elapse prior to the dispatch for us to get on the truck, push that button, and get to your house. So there's additional delays. So let me tell you what's compounding that problem right now. So when we're referring to time as tissue, and you have 6 minutes until brain death occurs, or hypoxia and how it affects a drowning, or heart attack, or a stroke, or any of those major medical issues that you all are very well aware of, may have even personally experienced in your family, when you add on these additional times, and then you take into consideration the population of Phoenix has increased to 1.7 million, we are running roughly, I know the last official census was done in 2010, it was 1.43. In 2016, it was roughly 1.6 million. That was an unofficial census based on guesstimates and building permits, all the information and data that's gathered. And now we're roughly at 1.7 million. Now that has affected the call volume. So you guys are all familiar with the economic downturn. We all lived it. We were all doing less with more, less libraries, less parks, less services for our cities, our citizens. So you add on to all of that, the call volume now increased, in addition to the fact that we haven't added additional resources since 2009, 2010, 50,000 more calls for an already growing city. So we were being proactive before, and now we have to be reactive. And there are areas in Councilman Waring, his district, 88% of his apparatus or his trucks and his first due or his district right now are not meeting the NFPA 1710 standard. 88% of those. If you look at the fire that occurred the other day in the Norterra area, Engine 55 right now is a part-time apparatus that went out of service. So there was a 8-minute and 58-second response time to a fire. Keep in mind that was a compartmentalized fire that was in a garage. So there's a fire-rated door and walls that keep it from going inside the structure. So the fire lapped up and got into the upper story of the house. So when we're talking about time, it's very critical that you understand how that expanded time, out of service times because of the increase in call volumes, and all these things play a factor in us delivering service to you. So what we're begging for right now is consideration for this. This is not feather bedding. This is not firefighters and police officers asking for additional money. We're not asking for increases in pension costs. We're simply asking you to consider what our service, the implications of us not providing a better service, being able to provide a better service because we don't have increase in staffing and apparatus in our city, what the impact to you is. We are concerned about your safety. That's legitimate. This is not a scary movie. We are very careful not to misrepresent numbers because our integrity means a lot to us. I know that it does to the police officers and you folks as citizens too. So we're asking and demanding that we have a plan to increase public safety because it's needed right now. desperately needed. So I'm sorry I took so much time. I honestly have a lot more information I'd like to share with you, but I'm going to be considerate of you and your families and the council folks as well, Mr. Zucker. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much, Brian. We have a couple speaker cards, but they do not wish to speak, but let me just put into the record. John Seifert wanted to express his interest in more funds for streets. Thank you, John. It's probably because you're a traffic engineer. Thank you. And then Cindy Kerr, you've got quite a few comments here. You're supportive of crime prevention, homeless intervention, street repair. As a matter of fact, you wish that we would reallocate light rail for more streets. You're supportive of the sober living housing. You do have some questions about the trees. You think it's too high. We'll look into that for you. And you support additional funding for fire and police. Thank you, Cindy. So our next speaker is Larissa. How are you? Good. Good to see you.
That's good. Can you hear me? There. Thank you. Yeah. I'll read my talking points. It goes much quicker. But my name is Larissa Valderrama. I'm a Phoenix native. Been here my whole life. I'm a member of Take Action Phoenix, and Take Action Phoenix is a group of neighborhood leaders that's committed to the preservation of our neighborhoods. We work on issues that create impacts to our neighborhood, advocating for change or improvements in order to maintain neighborhood integrity. We've been working for the last year very closely with the City of Phoenix and with group home operators and others to address issues that have arisen with group homes that operate within our residential neighborhoods. As a result of this work, the city, as Deborah Stark had mentioned, is making significant changes to its zoning ordinances and other processes that make group homes safer for the residents in the group home and safer for the neighborhoods where the homes are located. So the items in the proposed budget that specifically support this, or specifically the sober living home licensing and regulating that's going to be starting, is the city clerk license services and neighborhood services code compliance program. Is it just those two items? We're very much in support of this. This money that's being allocated will go far and away to do really great things for protecting and helping the people who are in the homes there to get recovery. And as we know, with the opioid crisis on the top of everyone's mind, this will allow the City of Phoenix to be in the forefront of this crisis, really setting a standard, leading the charge for other cities that are experiencing this today. So we fully support the budget for the use of these funds to help manage these issues that have arisen in our city, and it'll help protect the people in the homes and also help maintain the character of our city neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. Our next speaker is Jeannie Ann Summer, tireless neighborhood activist here in Phoenix. Good to see you. Yeah, we should have the cards by height. She's right. That's a good one.
Excuse me, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. I apologize for my voice, it's allergy season for me. I did attend the last subcommittee meeting of the Public Safety and Veterans, and I have to tell you, I listened to staff, and I listened to the staff presentation, and I listened to the council's questions, and there was no data, no benchmark that justifies additional funds to Phoenix Cares and for park rangers under the guise of Phoenix Cares. We were promised park rangers last year, and it didn't, for Flatland Parks. It didn't happen. In some ways, it didn't really matter because park rangers don't have any authority. If they come across a situation, particularly one involves homeless, they end up calling the rope officers anyway. And so that's really where we need to start, is with the rope officers. The rope program is a program that addresses both the compassionate and the criminal side of homelessness with the authority to make a change. We need more rope officers and we need more caseworkers. We still need to review our park rules and equally enforce park rules once they are in place. That has to happen. But it's not just our parks. You know, homeless by choice has become a lifestyle. Many of the homeless folks in our parks will tell you, I'm not homeless. I have a place to stay all day, somebody feeds me, somebody gives me a place to sleep. So we need a compassionate way to work on that situation as well. And currently, there is no coordination between Phoenix Services and the many, many nonprofits. If Phoenix really wants to take a leadership role, this is a perfect opportunity to sit down with the nonprofits and the Phoenix Services and start coordinating some of this. There are many nonprofits that do the same thing throughout our valley. Additionally, I think it's time to be honest about our police officers. Let's talk real about numbers, and that's compare the number hired, the number leaving, the number of recruits that actually make it through the academy, and the number of recruits that continue to work for the police department. Our officers, quite honestly, are worn out because there's not enough of them. Calls for service are not being met, and we're not even looking at the number of officers that could actually retire right now. That is a major concern. So thank you for listening, and please think about my comments.
Thanks, Jeannie. I just want to address a couple things. So we did add 9 flatland park rangers last year, and those actually did get added in the budget last year, and they've been hired. Yes. Okay. And then in terms of police, so the low mark for police sworn officers of the city was about 2,700. Today we're at about 2,940. We have authorization to get to 3,125, so we still have 180 to hire. That is accounting for attrition too, so that's net new. And you raise a point. It takes a whole lot of people into the process to ultimately end up as a Phoenix police officer because we have high standards. These guys have a lot of training, education. It's a hard job, and we're looking for people, but it takes a lot of people to go through the system to end up with a new Phoenix police officer on the street. So just to emphasize, we're looking for good people who want to be police officers, and we have slots open in the academy all the time, and we're constantly looking and recruiting.
In what ways are you recruiting, please?
So I don't have all the details, but we do national recruiting. There's targeted to military bases to find folks who are being honorably discharged from the military and looking for work. We recruit across the country. They have internet presence. And those are some of the
Is there some way that I can get some more details
Yes,
about how this?
absolutely. Let's talk with Chief Collins afterwards, and we'll connect you with the recruiting team as well.
Please, thank you.
Thanks.
Please consider Phoenix Cares. It's frustrating, and quite honestly, it's frustrating for some of the city staff as well. I'm talking to them. We really need to do something as human beings. We need to have compassion and take care of each other, but we also start to need finding solutions.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nita Mullenfeld. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Close enough.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
Okay. I do.
Good evening, my name is Nita. I'm a resident here of Phoenix. You can hear me now. I live in District 2 with my husband, and we raised our children here. And I have come tonight to speak about the library and how much I love the library. Everybody loves the library. I have been the beneficiary of, I don't work for the city, but I've been a beneficiary of all the fine people who do work for the city, so thank you. The library, it looks like the budget does not include any new monies for the library. Is that correct? It looks like you're continuing the hours.
It actually is new money to keep the hours going when Burton Bar reopens.
Okay, good, for the 4 libraries.
For those 4 libraries, we needed to add about $300,000 to get the Sunday hours for those 4 libraries to be permanent.
Okay, so even after Burton Bar opens in the summer, they'll be permitted. So I'm here to ask the council people to consider opening every library every day. We are a top shelf city. We are the 6th largest city in the United States. And I think that it's appropriate to have that. And I wonder sometimes, a couple weeks ago, so we raised all our kids here, always going to the library. My youngest is now a student at Barrett at ASU, and he's on full scholarship, and I think part of it was because of our Phoenix library. Every day we went to the library. 10 years ago, we couldn't go every day because our library here in our district was closed and remains closed on Fridays. But at any rate, we were driving to California a couple weeks ago, and we're fiddling around, and I got the audio book on my phone, finally. I was like, hey, look at this. And then we clicked on the audio to the car, and we had a first world problem. We couldn't figure out how to get the audio book from the phone into the car so that we can both listen to it and enjoy it. And I said to my husband, I said, you know, so many people, we have this problem, but so many people have different problems, you know. We can enjoy the library resources remotely because we have the resources to do that. But what about people who need to check their email, who need to pay their bills, who need to do just everyday life tasks, and they need the library to do it? For those people, the library is closed on certain days. And so I'm here to encourage you to have the city services available to all city residences, because it's available to some of us more readily, and all the city services should be accessible to everybody equally. Thank you.
Thank you. You must be proud of your child being in Barrett. That's pretty special.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, the biggest supporter of the libraries, I see him all the time over at Mesquite, is Councilman Waring. He's there probably 3 times a week, and I'm over at the mall buying stuff to pay for your books. No, he is a great advocate. I just like seeing him in District 3. So we have one last speaker, and they do not want to speak, Ron Peer, but he is here to advocate for sufficient funding for library services. And actually, that's all the speakers we have tonight. There's a lot of city staff here, so if you have any unique questions to a certain department, I'm sure they'll be here to help answer those. Do you have any last words, Jim? Thank you. Ed?
Just want to, again, thank you for coming out and speaking. We'll be around here afterwards to talk more specific questions if there are. The council will take the final action on the budget on May 22nd. So we have about 12 more hearings throughout the city between now and April 17th. So we invite you to come to any of those that you can. And then we'll take that feedback, work on the budget, and the council will adopt a budget May 22nd. With that, thank you very much and have a great evening.